All right. We are back at Grit Won't Quit podcast studio, and we have a special guest on today. We have Justin, Chef Justin, from Block and Rooster Provisions, and he is a private chef, and he brought some delicious food here for us today. So good afternoon. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
So private chef is a different kind of chef than the everyday mainstream restaurants. What made you go after this?
Working in restaurants my whole life, I loved most when I moved here working in open kitchens where I could look into the dining room and watch the guests eating what I was creating.
Mm-hmm.
It made me feel like I had purpose within the restaurant ecosystem. I could see these people enjoying their meals. They were talking 5 minutes ago, and now that table is silent. That's usually a great thing.
That's a good sign.
That's usually a great thing. And just through working through different restaurants, I learned, I would do this, or maybe I would avoid doing that if I was under the helm of where I was working at the time. And just decided it wasn't enough. I wanted to offer a service where you could have a chef come into your home with a service staff and make your home their restaurant for the evening. And that's
awesome.
What we strive to do at Block and Rooster. Whether it's a dinner for two or a 50-person buffet, we'll handle it all.
And what is your what's like your go-to? Is it a smaller party, or are you better at the bigger parties?
I love getting bigger parties because it's more people seeing what you're doing, and you get those opportunities to interact with the client's guests, and they're like, oh my God, this food is wonderful. Or sometimes they're even like, this was maybe a little miss for our crowd. It's wonderful, but getting that feedback is super important. But my favorite is the more smaller,
Intimate
5 to 10, where we can go in and we can set the table from top to bottom, tablecloth to the plates to the glassware, and give these people a service like you're going into a fine dining establishment and they could literally eat in their pajamas if they wanted to.
That's awesome. So let's take that back. Let's think about that. So somebody calls you up and says, hey, Chef Justin, I want to do a 10-person party.
Yep.
You then will ask them about their menu.
Yep.
You'll ask them about if there's any allergies and stuff like
Absolutely.
that.
That's the first thing I ask. Are there any guests with any allergies?
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's a custom menu. The world is your oyster.
So
I'm just living in it.
You can ask them like what it is that they'd like to, if there's a theme or if there's a special occasion, and
Absolutely.
then
we kind of play off of that.
And you come up with a menu.
I'll actually send out a couple menus in invoices. It gives the client a chance to see where they're at, both price-wise and the total breakdown of our service, essentially. Mm-hmm. So if someone was to reach out with me and say, hey, we just want a sit-down dinner party, I'm asking all those questions. What are some of your favorites? Are there any allergies that we need to avoid? And when that comes, I try to avoid it altogether. So if someone has a seafood allergy, I try to sway clients to be like, look, I don't want to risk anyone getting sick ever. It's like my biggest fear as a chef is someone calling me and be like, hey, we got sick. But it's totally custom from top to bottom. I can create menus for you. Then I've done that plenty in the past where clients are like, yeah, just whatever. We want surf and turf. We want this kind of vegetable. Whatever you bring is cool. And that actually happened our last event in Manilokin. The guy was so cool. I was like, I'm going to bring you something else. So I brought him an amuse-bouche to get them started. I did a creme brulee fig with a truffle goat cheese. Just to start them. Wasn't on their menu, wasn't on their invoice, didn't get charged for it. And they were just like, wow, I didn't even know this was coming. And we try to raise the bar.
So you try to wow them.
Absolutely, every step of the way.
So now you come up with the menu. Mm-hmm. Now, do you cook on prem or do you cook off prem?
So
a little bit of both?
It's a little of both. It's not feasible to buy a whole fillet and cook on site. It creates a lot of smoke. There's a lot of grease spatter everywhere. So it creates a lot of extra work. So we try to do about 60 to 70% of the work off-site. So I'm weighing and trimming your fillets. I'm sous videing your fillets so they're perfectly cooked every single time you have it. You order a steak from me one time, 10 years from now, it's going to be identical.
Wow.
And I bring it on-site about an hour beforehand. Me and my service staff will set up in your kitchen like it is our restaurant for the evening. All the plates spread out for service, and from top to bottom, from when you want to start, we're about an hour to an hour and a half early, depending on how involved the event is. If you want us to set up multiple tables for a buffet or a cocktail party, no problem. We have vendors that we can reach out to have those delivered to you, plates, utensils. There's really, the sky is the limit with what I do.
Awesome.
And being super personal is why I want to do it.
Excellent. So now, how long have you been in business?
I've been doing Block and Rooster now for 2 years.
Awesome. And you did this prior to that too?
I was working with another private company, and before that, I was working in restaurants basically my whole life.
And you like the Food Network?
I loved it. Loved it. Since 8, 9 years old.
You found yourself on that channel?
It was Rachel Ray, it was Alton Brown, it was Iron Chef. I was just totally wowed, and I was like, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
It's great that you knew it early.
Absolutely, and it wasn't always that way. Going through culinary school at the Art Institute of Charlotte, RIP, they instilled a lot of good knowledge that kind of kick-started that. But it also set a boundary of this isn't real life. We don't have 4 hours in a restaurant to produce an entree. We have to do it very fast, very rapidly, and at a high precision level. So there was some rocky parts going through my early career where I was like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, this is...
Like getting into some of those managers that, I learned that... I'm going to stay away from doing things that way, and I'm going to step away from this establishment and go to the next.
And you probably learned a lot along the way.
So much.
Learned what you didn't like, what you did like, where to make your inroads, and where to find
Absolutely. And that's important for anyone wanting to start a business. Is like you have to take your experiences and go, all right, I really liked how so and so manager handled the staff during this awful situation. He kept everyone cool, calm, and collected, and now I'm going to strive to be that way if I'm ever put in that situation.
You could learn a lot from bad managers.
Absolutely.
Just as much as you can learn from...
I feel like more.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like more.
Because you see like what shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
And how you were treated as the worker and how you don't want to be when you're the boss.
Absolutely. You want to treat people with that same respect.
Now, so these parties, so people just call you, they'll tell you what they're looking for. Now, what about if someone's looking for there's some companies that do the meal prep where they'll, is that
I
something?
haven't entered the meal prep realm quite yet.
Yep.
I'm sure down the pipeline that's something that I'd like to get into. It's just another avenue to offer an exceptional service. So, I look at guys like Eat Clean Bro.
Yeah.
Those guys, they knew what they wanted and they crushed it.
Yeah.
And
Jamie runs a great business.
He does a wonderful job for sure.
Yeah. So, I think there's some people that probably would like, that you cook for their family, so they have a
right, and that's definitely
options.
something that I could look into. I've had a few people in the past reach out, be like, hey, we're just looking for one night a week.
Yep.
Just come through. It's just me and my 2 kids or whatever. But it's got to make sense.
Sure.
Everyone sees how expensive food is right now, so it's hard to turn any sort of profit, let alone continue to do and offer that type of service. So those margins are much, much smaller than what I'm currently able to kind of navigate through.
Yeah, sure. As the business grows, you'll see where
absolutely.
Where
that's
those,
why I said
those navigations
the possibilities are endless. They're endless.
Now, you are from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yes.
You came here how long ago?
About 10 years.
So, all right. And then, now, since then, you've made a nice name for yourself around locally.
Definitely trying to. My first job when I moved here was under David Burke at Fromagerie when he owned it, and that instilled a lot of, everything looks the same. Everything needs to be to this fine detail. And I kind of took that and just ran with it.
That's great. Yeah. And that's a great person to,
absolutely,
model if he's got a number of restaurants
He
now.
does.
And he's continuing to expand, which is great.
Yep.
So that's awesome. And we got connected to a mutual friend, Mike, and he's a great guy. So
absolutely.
When he said to me, you guys should connect, I was happy to get you on here as soon as possible.
It an experience for sure. I've been building the excitement for a couple days now, and I'm like, wow, this is really happening. And
You're on a podcast, and you
yeah,
made food.
I made food for everybody. Yeah,
Now-
it's what I do. I figure bring some food, showcase what I do a little bit on a very, very small scale.
So let people know what we have here.
All right, so this is my take on a classic smoked salmon and cream cheese. I took classic cream cheese and mixed it with our roasted garlic and chives, some fresh cracked pepper, pink Himalayan salt to really bring out the flavors there. We use Norva salmon from a farm out in Denmark. That came out of my little mini smoker this morning for this little event here. It's topped with some house pickled red onions, capers, and dill, along with a dill cream.
Smells good. I can't wait to dig into it later.
It's going to be a treat, I hope.
If I had a napkin here with me right now, I would dig into it now. But we'll wait till the end of the show. Take a quick break from the podcast to highlight today's sponsor, QSR Supply. For all your restaurant design and equipment needs, please reach out to qsrsupply.com. So that's great. So now, what are some of the hurdles and some of the obstacles in being in business for yourself for 2 years? And, in a market that's not for everybody. There's, you said Manalokan, which is a great town and a beautiful area, and, is more of your target market.
The biggest struggle is just that it's been marketing. As a one-man show, I do everything myself. I build my website by myself. I try to do all my research by myself on how to effectively leverage social media, because I was never a social media guy. So learning Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Nextdoor even, it's been a lot of challenges on, all right, how do I post? When do I post? What do I post?
How often do I post?
How often do I post?
Running ads on
Do
those
I have
posts.
enough content to keep up this pace of posting? So that's been the biggest hurdle to me, and I think I'm finally starting to dial it in, and just getting out of my shell and meeting people has been it's probably the second biggest hurdle.
That's key.
It's with someone with a personality like mine, it's hard. So even doing a podcast like this,
You weren't
it's
nervous
huge
coming
step.
today, right?
A little.
Really?
Absolutely.
I try to make it easy.
Nah,
for you.
and it has been. It has been. My nerves are nil now.
All right, I don't want you to be nervous. We can take a shot of vodka if you're in the back if you're still nervous. But no, I think that it's great. You got to get out there as a business owner and as a running a fairly new business. Yep. You got to be the front and center. You got to be the man, because people want to see this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
People want to see behind the camera of what's going on.
Yep.
And again, you like that restaurant with the open concept. Well, people like to see behind too.
Well, people like seeing a chef in their kitchen too. When they hire us, they go, oh well, now I have an opportunity to kind of flex a little bit and show I've got a private chef in my kitchen that's serving me with his staff. So, and that only benefits me as well, because that's
win on that one.
People's eyes are on it, and people are seeing we're actively in people's kitchens, and they're happy. And we try to make that process of hosting an event as easy as possible.
Sure.
We show up an hour to an hour and a half before. We set up, we serve, and make sure your drinks are full. The client worries about nothing, even clean up in the kitchen. We try to make it as if we were never even there.
That's pretty cool. I hired one summer. I had a couple of years ago, had a huge 75 people in my backyard, and I hired someone to do the grill, because the year before I found myself playing beer pong instead of running the grill.
And it's hard, and
service. I was on a streak.
You can't break the streak. If you're on a streak, you can't break it. But that's part of our service is your home, our restaurant. When you go to a restaurant, you don't have to do anything but enjoy the people you're with.
Exactly.
So even if you're hosting a backyard barbecue, you don't have to worry about anything. My service staff is walking around. Do you need a drink? Would you like me to bring some food to you the next time it comes around?
Sure.
Can I have your trash and take care of that? And we just handle everything. So it's a win to the client that they don't, oh my God, now I need more food, or oh my God, all this trash is piling up over here. It's how embarrassing. It all gets taken care of.
I really like your style,
they
because
can enjoy their guests.
In the world we live in, customer service is
It's key.
I mean, but in the world we live in, I don't always think that we have great customer service out there. So the fact that you guys are...
Yeah, we're trying to keep that old school.
Yeah.
And like I said, we try to pinpoint that as if you're going to a fine dining restaurant, regardless what service you're getting. You're getting a past hors d'oeuvres or a buffet. We want you to feel like you just went into a 2-star Michelin restaurant and you're like, whoa, this is in my house.
Great. And so it's pretty easy. I mean, for the guests, it's pretty easy.
Yeah,
like their job is just to...
Their biggest stress is when are they showing up? And once we're there, we're like, all right, show us where the trash goes. If we need extra napkins or we need extra this or extra that, where are we getting it? And that's more so in the case where the client agrees to, all right, well, I have enough plates for this. I have enough glassware and silverware for this. But again, as soon as we show up, we make it very apparent very quickly that we're here to take care of business and your only job is to enjoy your guests and your company.
That's fantastic. I think you have a great model, and I look forward to seeing you succeed in this because
Thank you.
It definitely makes it easy for someone
a lot of
having
people.
a party.
And I try to make it as absolutely affordable as possible because, like I said, the cost of food is astronomical right now, and it doesn't seem like there's any signs of it slowing down. So being able to offer a very high-end service for something that if you were to go into a restaurant with 15, 20 people and you get the liquor bottles and the beer, and you got to understand they're upcharging for all of that.
Sure.
You can host your own event. I can bring a bartender that can serve it. We cannot legally bring you liquor or beer or anything like that, but we
and
have
you have the staff to support.
I have access to all the staff. Yep.
That's great.
And all of my staff come from people that I have vetted personally or worked with in the industry in the past, that I trust, that they understand my vision. They understand what direction I want to go. They know exactly what I expect. My main man, Michael Chachko, we don't even have to speak. We can look at each other and be like, "You handle that?" And he's like, "Right on it." And there's no communication needed. It's just like, hey, he could see, all right, we got 10 people. I might need a hand with prep. Throws on an apron and helps me like get plates and asking along the way, like, where do you want this? How do you want this plated? And having team members like that is vital to success.
That is great.
He takes 30 to 40% of the stress of my events off of my shoulders because I know that it's handled the way that I would like it to be handled.
The look is the best. When you
Absolutely.
have somebody that
We can just be like, hey, and they're like, I'm on it.
10-4.
Yep.
That's awesome. So what's the plan to continue growth?
Really just trying to hit the marketing events and network with as many people as physically possible. I'm pushing a couple ads on Nextdoor right now, and I like that platform because it's very local. I can pinpoint these area codes that I want, and they're all locals to me. So I can, if I make a name there in my immediate community, word of mouth will only go exponentially from there.
As Joe Hughes said many episodes ago, 5 Mile famous. You don't need to do business all over the country. If you're doing the right work in your neighborhood, you could be 5 Mile famous and have a great business.
Absolutely, and be extremely successful.
Yep. So that's awesome. I love to see this.
We offer our services all over the state of New Jersey.
Most of your work in Monmouth and Ocean County?
A lot of our work as of late, yes, has been Monmouth and Ocean County, but we'll go all the way up to North Jersey. We'll tiptoe into the Philadelphia area.
You're not nervous to travel?
Not at all.
Perfect.
Not at all. We going into New York City, there's a little bit of more finesse there. I usually have to collect tolls and parking and things like that. It becomes a little bit of a mess. So I try to recommend New York private chefs that are already there and be like, hey, this guy probably does a really good service. But it would only be people that I've been watching for a very long time.
Sure. And now holiday parties are coming up.
Open every holiday.
So Thanksgiving,
Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
Office parties, you doing those?
I'll do anything.
That's so cool.
If you have a space for me to plate food and an open mind with what you have available, if you have a full service kitchen, like an oven and a stove, you're limitless in what you can get. I can bring a stove. I can bring a small oven. It requires rental fee because I don't own a small portable oven as of yet.
But there is somebody that will rent that to you that you can rent, that you can
absolutely.
Bring. That's pretty wild.
Absolutely. From food warmers to small induction stoves to set up on like a little plastic folding table just to keep everything safe and not.
If you haven't listened, you should check out. It released recently. Dean Langella from QSR.
I did. I watched that episode yesterday.
He's been in the business for years. He has any access you need to supplies. He's a great guy.
I actually went to his website when I was done listening to that episode
cool.
and bookmarked it under my business. And I was like, when my dreams become reality, I'll call him for all my supplies because.
And he's a local boy.
And it's all about. I like saying let's keep the money in the family, and that doesn't necessarily mean blood family. That's the people that have supported me a little bit here and there along the way, whether that's booking a party and helping me financially, or sharing my posts on social media, or just getting the word out in any way you can. Like my girlfriend, I'm so thankful for her. She literally hands my business cards out to everyone she walks past.
That's great.
And to have that kind of support means a whole lot.
If you want, you could leave some business cards up there.
I will absolutely do that. Thank you.
So, as we wrap up, this was a great conversation. I can't wait to try this. But let people know where they can find you.
You can find and book through www.blockandrooster.com. And we are on all socials as @blockandrooster, except for Instagram. That is @blockandroosterprovisions.
And then also, I was told this morning that our man's going to give a special offer for anybody that listens to this podcast. So please let us know.
Yeah, anyone that books through my website and mentions Wingman Podcast, Grit Won't Quit, will get 10 to 15% off on your select service for your first time booking through Block and Rooster.
I really appreciate you making an offer to the guests, and I look forward to connecting you with more people because I think you offer a great service, and I love to see. I would love to see you win here.
Awesome! I super appreciate that. It means a whole lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're here at Wingman. We're gonna do a take on a old classic, cream cheese and smoked salmon. So I have some crostinis, some salmon, some in-house pickled onions, and some whole grain mustard, capers, and we're just going to do a little plate up for you guys. Just gonna smear. Everyone's favorite, a little bit of cream cheese. With this cream cheese, I put chives and roasted garlic, a little black pepper just to enhance the seasonings. And go on with our Norda salmon. This was farmed in Denmark. I like farmed fish. A lot of people have a negative connotation to farmed fish. It's the most consistent you'll get in terms of seafood, is going with something that's farmed sustainably. We're going to top this with a little bit of pickled onion. There's a nice vibrant flavor to cut through some of the cheese. We'll go on top of that with our dill crema. A little bit of capers. A little bit of whole grain mustard. I mean, a very little bit. This will just help cut the acidity of those capers. A little fresh chive. And we're going to finish with some fresh dill for garnish here. And that is my take on a cream cheese and smoked salmon.